opponents every time. So for Lys here, I'm a little surprised to see the Rush Warrior ban, but clearly it's been working well for him thus far.
And we'll get to see it against Priest in game number 1. Not a great matchup. I definitely like the Priest versus Rush Warrior. I think it was one of the reasons why Priest started to come back in the metagame after the balance changes, because Rush Warrior started to become quite popular on ladder. But one thing that I like about Gaby is that when he's focused, and we compare him to Amnesiac, right, because of the the age and whatnot and how promising of a player he is. But Amnesiac's the only other player that I used to see get that intense adolescent focus, right? Where you can tell that he's completely zoned in on the match and knows exactly what to do. And sometimes that leads to him playing really fast. Sometimes it leads to him like really making sure, sitting up, that he's going for the play. And I know Gaby's going to hate this because he doesn't like being called a kid or young. But on the topic of adolescent focus, as a father of a 2-year-old kid, when he puts his mind to something, oh my God, if he wants that piece of chocolate in the pantry, he will get that piece of chocolate no matter what it takes. And that's how I feel about Gaby when it comes to winning Hearthstone games.
Now, I know that Gaby hates being compared to children. But anyway, my 2-year-old baby who loves chocolate, it's the same thing really here. It's just 1-to-1.
Yep. Glad you got that. The Venomous Scorpion being played on the board early, very difficult for Rush Warrior to deal with without like Bumper Car and some 1/1s. It's because they want to try and value trade over with the Rushmans early on. Plays around Crab Rider, Mormaw Challenger, pretty much any of the early game tools outside of Bumper Card plus rushing 1/1s in. Very difficult card to deal with and buys Gaby a whole lot of time.
Yeah, it's just very, very clean play. It's not especially complicated from Gaby, but it's the classic way you want to order things with Priest. You discover your spells with 1 Makers and Scorpions, and then you go for the palm readings to reduce everything. And not only has he got the Scorpid on board now, it is now a 3/9 in addition to that, representing obviously absurd amounts of board control here. Isn't there a minion that's a 3/9 taunt in Hearthstone? With poison. I mean, even not taunt, like a 3/9 poison. I think.
Yeah, it was another Scorpid.
Right. It's evolved.
Yeah. It has. It was power infusioned and then melded and added to the game. And then taken away from the game. Sorry, that was convoluted. But yeah, this game feels very much so in Gaby's favor. Even so early on in the game, gets to get Light Shower Elemental down. Still acquiring resources as well. Not even skipping a beat, right? Getting to play for tempo, but still cycling through the deck.
And Gaby is just such a vibe. Rage Against the Machine blasting, Light Shower Elemental on turn 5. This is Hearthstone time. Let's go.
What now?
I'd like to think it's Celine Dion. French-Canadian, but still French. I don't even know what you're trying to set up for here. Trying to hope that conditioning is going to get ripped off the top. I mean, that's a non-corrupted stage type. Like Gaby's gonna kill this before anything's ever played. He's like, oh my, what?
What? Oh. That's it. You don't beat this as Rush Warrior. This is like the one time we've seen Priest on stream this weekend. It's banned every single series, and now the one time we see it, it does this on turn 6. This is why you ban Priest.
Oh, jeez. Is there anything that's possible here? He can Parade Leader, Blade Master. No, it can't Blade. It's not buffed at all.
Yeah.
You'd have to go like run Thack this turn, and then attack in with the weapon to the Light Shower Elemental, and just completely I mean, Runtak is like a conditioning, a worse conditioning that deals 3 damage in this stage of the game. And the weird part is if you start trading off the other minions and leaving the Scorpions up, which have too much health, then you no longer can try and get a buffed Blade Master Samurai because it can't trade into the Scorpions and still get its Frenzy effect off. The poison happens first.
Yeah, I guess this is about as good of a chance as you have. You at least get to clear off the Sethek, which is very important. Otherwise, you can just expect to see a whole chain of buffs into losing the game.
Yep. I'm ready again. What we got? Double Holy Smite and gets a Sethek back because nothing else has died. It's just Light Shower Elemental and the Sethek. Oh, and a Powered Feast. Cool.
Yeah. I think that's really the card to highlight that maybe could be the one ticket back in for Lys is Blade Master Samurai. If he can find a way to buff it up right now, I mean, he's probably just dead this turn anyway, or the very next turn, but that is the one way that you have to go for a big AoE clear in Warrior, but with still not even having found a conditioning, he can't even buff it.
I think the best turn is probably just to set up for a conditioning right, which would be Overlord Runtak and then Bumper Cars.
Sure. The worst thing is, though, that Blade Master Samurai is a frenzy effect, so you can't even attack into the Scorpid or it just won't trigger. It's not just a death rattle on the card, and so even then, even if you could buff it, it's just not going to be big enough to clear them off.
It's like sitting back and thinking, this is the tough spot. Got to find something creative here. I mean, he could just like initiation and then pass the turn, or not pass the turn, deal 10, and then pass the turn, still be okay. But he's trying to maximize here. If a minion sticks, he has lethal next turn. I mean, a minion sticks, period, he has lethal next turn, just off board.
Yeah, I mean, you had it right the first time, TJ. He could pass like 3 turns here and still probably just be winning the game, even if he wasn't hitting lethal next turn. But now with one of the stickiest dragons in the game, a nightmare to clear off. Even if you're not a Rush Warrior and have actual removal tools, it's still just way too much. In one of the most one-sided games of Hearthstone I think I have ever seen. Like, Lys obviously had a bad hand, make no mistakes about it, but Gaby just played this game perfectly. It was, it was an easy game to play well, but optimizing it to the perfect degree where you just get absolute maximum pressure. That's how we start things off. Let's go, Gaby.
Yeah, nicely done. And that's kind of why we said that Priest honestly feels like a free win. Though I think, he obviously had a strategy leaving it up. Rush Warrior, the only deck that he really had left that wasn't at least decent against Priest. He has Mage with Deck of Lunacy. That looks like it's tech for Priest with not many defensive tools, right? Not running Shooting Star and running Netherland Portal. And then the secret aggressive buff Paladin, which has been doing quite well against Priest also. But Priest power level just feels so high right now, and especially against Rush Warrior. It's a huge liability, and the fact that he decided that Rush Warrior itself was worse against his lineup goes to show a testament of what he probably think one of those decks is going to get a win against my lineup. It's about whether or not I can corner something else, and we'll see if that's going to be the case.
We shall see indeed. For Gaby in the next game, though, it looks like he is going to be lining up his Spell Mage. Very standard stuff. It looks like he's gone for what I think was the same list. Oh, well, I was going to say I think the same list as Viper. Of course it's the same list as Viper, with the Shooting Star as the 30th card in exchange for what a lot of players have gone for. I think it is, as you were saying, for Lys, the Deck of Lunacy, as most of the Chinese players are going for. We've seen, obviously, Netherwind Portal. Even Orange was tweeting out that he goes for double Flame Strike in his build of the deck, which is not something I've seen from anyone else. But overall, it doesn't make all too much difference. It's just the standard build of the deck and should be able to hopefully get a win here for Gaby, because I still very much believe in the power of the deck as just one of the top 4 decks.
Yeah, whichever of those cards you decide to not put in your deck, you'll just get it from Ruined Orb anyway. So it doesn't matter at the end of the day. But Spellmage does have some matchups that it could struggle with. But again, Spellmage is, in my opinion, almost similar to Priest in power level, where it can just take wins against everything. Obviously, it has some better matchups, but if you start with Incanter's Flow and Refreshing Spring Water, there's not really a deck in Hearthstone that's going to struggle to try and come up with wins unless the rest of the draws are just dead. So it looks like Lys is going to be queuing up that Aggro Paladin, has opted for Secrets instead of the all-in Death Rattle, Divine Shield, Sticky Minion buff strategy. But it's kind of a middle ground, right? He still has a Blessing of Authority, no Blessing of Kings, but still has those early Sticky Minions plus Conviction. He just throws in the Secrets there to give him the better potential to get off to those crazy starts that are so difficult to deal with and play around with the wide breadth of Secrets that he has available. Playing 4 different ones, including a Reckoning in the list.
Yeah, it's definitely making its way back in, and I think rightly so. It's a perfectly good Secrets play in your deck. The real problem for me with this build is just that you, I think, sacrifice some of the benefit of sticking a minion, because in the buff version of the deck where you're running Nerubian Eggs, Blessing of Kings in addition to the Blessing of Authority there at the top, not only is it easy to stick a minion, but you get a huge benefit from sticking a minion, whereas with this build of the deck with only the Hand of Adults as the real big buffs and Convictions once you hit turn 5, I feel like the ability to go for super aggressive starts at the start is a little bit limited. But it does come with the upside, of course, that you're a lot less vulnerable to devolving missiles, and your Secrets can wreak havoc with all the spells that the mage is trying to play as well. So it's all ups and downs, positives and negatives, but at the end of it all, the deck is set, and it is on Lys now to try and take the win against the mage. Not the easiest of matchups, but with a hand like that, you're in with a fighting chance.
Both players with quite good hands. Gaby, with the Incanter's Flow, you can be a little more conservative with your mulligan. You can keep removal spells because you know that you have the flow to get that cheaper, and that's the main card you're mulliganing for. So, like that keep. But yeah, the Secret Paladin does feel like it has higher highs but lower lows than the buff Paladin. But that does mean that in matches like this where you're in a single elimination quarterfinal, that you just need to win with it once. You just need that high once, and that also seems to be what the Chinese players are going for in this event, bringing Deck of Lunacy as well in their mage, which has fallen out of a lot of like the European players lists. So it kind of goes along with the theme of higher highs and lower lows. The choice between Hand of Adult and Sword of the Fallen, because it was a 3 keep, the Sword of the Fallen has merit, and also you don't have the risk of pulling another secret from your deck, but he really just wants to get some pressure rolling.
Yeah, honestly, I was actually kind of interested in going for the Sword of the Fallen there, just because it shouldn't be underestimated, the power of just thinning cards from your deck. And who knows, maybe they have like the second flow, or they want to go for a cram session on turn 2, which maybe they're disrupted from the fear of Oh My Yogg. But it works out perfectly well here for Lys. He can follow up with the sword on this turn and keep the pressure rolling. Kazakus is a premium top deck for this point in the game.
The light dims, but we fight.
Yeah, the 5/5s, especially if you can get something like Stealth or Divine Shield with Summon a Copy. Oh, tempo play.
Those are 5 drops.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you get 2 of them. 2 for 1 special on 5 drops.
Oh,
mwah. Delicioso.
My kind of game. Right, Oh My Yogg time. Gaby crossing his fingers. Looks like something pretty decent happened, and correct facial expression. Yeah, it's okay.
That means no swing from Sword of the Fallen. Essentially heals for 5 as well, with all the damage that would have been on board. Potentially more if there were buffs, like another Hand of a Doll. So all things considered, decent, yes. but could fall a little bit further behind on tempo. But Encanter's Flow rolling, Refreshing Spring Water, and Arcane Intellect in the hand. If Gaby can get through the next couple turns safely, there's going to be some fireworks.
Somewhat surprising to not see Kazakus on this turn, because I'm aware that by going for Knight of the Anointment, he has a very high chance of hitting Hand of Adal or Conviction, which is clearly what he's setting up for here to get maximum pressure next turn. But if you don't manage to hit the Crab Rider with a buff, your amount of damage does drop quite drastically.
Yeah, it looked like he did just want to get the Oh My Yogg off.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just to try and disrupt and maybe protect this board a little bit. And then can go Kazakus next turn. And could even fit in the Mystery Winner. Or could go for a 1. Not sure how powerful that is, though.
Ooh. That's a good draw now, though. I'm thinking you can... The real question for me on this turn, because I'm obviously looking at Swing and then Hand of Adal plus Northwatch Commander, but the question is, can you get away with just ignoring this 5/5 and sending everything else face, or do you have to trade up with the rest of your board?
I guess the question comes down to like Devolving Missiles and Combustion. He saw one Combustion that was Oh My Yogged, so maybe that makes him feel a little bit more comfortable that Gaby wouldn't be able to push past with that. And I'm pretty sure Devolving Missiles may have been played already. This is actually a tough turn because there's also like Mystery Winner as well to maybe even get another secret for Disruption.
True.
And Northwatch Commander plus Swing, and you'd be able to play the extra secret. But it's going to trade down here.
And this seems pretty good to me. It's the turn before Flame Strike is available, even if it came off of the cheapened version, thanks to the Incanter's Flow. And it's just a very awkwardly shaped board for the rest of Mage cards to clear it up. As we can see, it's tough to deal with this.
It doesn't look tough based on what Gaby's doing right now. Actually looks incredibly easy, but yeah, these are quite beefy minions.
Oh, Default! Oh! Oh no! We spoke too soon.
That we did.
And this is the, I mean, sorry, missing trip 3 times with Devolving Missiles is not the punish, but just the overall idea that by not going for Shooting Star plus Combustion before he drew with the AI, there was always the chance that you can't clear this 6/5, and now is the time for Lys to strike. You've been given the blessing of something sticking on board. This rarely happens at this point in the game, and you've got to maximum crank up the pressure.
I mean, this is a Combustion clear with Ashman Solarian. Ashman Solarian, Shooting Star, and then
Correct.
Combustion. That is a full clear. Oh, it's the juice.
That's so sick.
I guess that's why he wasn't worried. And that's why he also didn't play the Ashmancer Solarian 2 turns previously when he had the chance. It's also why he didn't just unload the Shooting Star there to be mana efficient last turn. He was trying to set up for that big clear. And I mean, from this position with Encanter's Flow played, and you don't have board any longer as Paladin, it is very difficult to win. There are some outs though. Gaby's at 17.
Yeah.
So Lys could get, say, Hammer of the Naru into Alexstrasza, right? He's got Talon Forging as well. Seen Devolving Missiles that could pull Alexstrasza. And then, of course, Kazakus Golems could at least divert some of Gaby's attention to trying to deal with the board. Or if he gets stealth, you know, maybe they just stick. And that's the extra damage that he needs.
This is not what we stood for.
So I believe that's it's either Reckoning or Galloping Savior. Those are the only 2 secrets that are left to be pulled from the deck. It is Galloping Savior.
Yeah, it is
That's
Galloping
decent.
Saber in the end.
Refreshing Spring Water. Oh my goodness. He's also got Cram Session. This could be quite the turn. And that'll be the 3 cards, so then he can Apexis Blast the Galloping Savior if it comes out. Works out nicely. All right.
Ooh.
Rainbow!
Oh! That'll work out very well. That'll get you jamming.
And he drew the last secrets in the Sword of the Fallen Swing, even if he could do it, right? He doesn't want to attack it at 4 damage just to get a secret.
And
this is not good.
Right, and this is the awkward turn as well. It's 1 turn before Alexstrasza. It's 1 turn before Kazakus plus 5 cost Golem. Do you have to go for 1 in order to just go poison and shoot? And then hope to win the 50-50? Like, that sounds awful. But you're just losing at the moment.
Okay, so he was offered Poisonous and was offered deal 3 damage.
Yeah.
So if he did take 1, he hit it, which I can't imagine any other thing be good here. Needs it. Oh!
Yikes.
Ooh, bet there's something great inside.
And for Gaby now, this has to be a case of just mopping it up, right? You can clear the board with any combination of spells that you want to go for here, really. You know that nothing is going to get in the way of your spells being played with both Oh My Yogs having come down. So you can just go Shooting Star, Mask of Cthulhu. Even though you know here that your Greybow will die, do you even really care?
Or do you even attack, right? He's so far ahead.
Yeah.
Maybe you preserve that taunt to...
That's true.
He knows that Alexstrasza is in hand. He has full information right now.
Yeah.
He knows there's no more secrets left. The only information he doesn't know is the randomly generated secret from the mystery winner. It is Galloping Savior, but from Gaby's perspective, it could be any of the other secrets besides Reckoning. So, going to test for Oh My Yogg with the cheap spell. Sees that it's not. Okay.
Time runs out on me.
Snap Freeze really just an insurance policy here, honestly. Just saying if you do play the Alexstrasza next turn, I can freeze it and ignore it.
Yeah.
You want it?
And really unsure at the end here. He's thinking obviously with Galloping Savior. He knows that the remaining one is going to be killing off his Greybow if he attacks with it, so he just chills. I think this is a good way to end the turn here. It means that he has maximum pressure on board. Greybow will respawn because of the Ethereal Conjurer that was played. And it's going to make it nigh on impossible for RNGLys to get through all of this.
Yep. There's the remaining cards in the list. Hammer of the Naru is the big one. Maybe Blessing of Authority if things stick. The Knight of Anointment could pull the Blessing of Authority, but it could also pull Convictions, which at this point it doesn't. I mean, maybe Alexstrasza sticks, but very unlikely. Or at least can stick and able to be attack itself. Looking unlikely. And Gaby's really just trying to make sure that he can keep the board clean or at least buy himself some time. Has double mask to try and end the game. Honestly, at this point, he might be able to even just run Lys completely out of resources and force him to be playing a single card a turn.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt it will even get there, given that Solarian Prime is still in the deck waiting to come down, but the point is still valid. It's I don't think there's going to be enough threats in the deck to get there for Lys. That's nothing.
May the light.
Ice Barrier and Oasis Ally.
Oh,
Oh, man. I mean, he's at 10 mana, so can just Hero Power and just load up some Convictions, you know?
I don't think that
Obviously.
gets there.
Yeah, it's not good. One of them could be pinged down.
Yeah.
Evolving Missile still exists. 2 mana Fireball, 5 mana Flame Strike.
Yeah, you can just fireball that away. Mask of Cthulhu sets up lethal next turn. It was a strong start from Gaby. You know, pretty much perfectly weaving around the secrets as best as possible, even with imperfect information. And he gets up in lightning speed, 2-0. The Priest was the freest win of his life. Mage was a little bit more hard fought, but with a good hand and some very strong play as well. Our boys looking set to go through to the semifinals.
Yeah, and the last deck remaining will be the Rogue, since the Rush Warrior was banned away. Weirdly enough, like if the Rush Warrior has been the deck that when it's last to go, I'm like, ooh, this one could be shaky.
Yeah.
Rogue has just been good, right? It's just it hasn't been really banned. It's been a staple in a lot of players' lineups, and it's been throughout the first part of the tournament, the Swiss rounds. It was actually floating above a 50% win rate, which is crazy for a deck that everybody expects to be brought. Right? It wasn't this deck that came out of left field that didn't have a significant sample size that surprised everybody. No, everybody knew that players were going to play Miracle Rogue, and still was able to do quite well. So we shall see if Lys can beat the Rogue 3 times in a row. You know, I wouldn't put past him. Still some strong decks himself. Rush Warrior, good matchup against Rogue. Paladin is hit or miss, and Mage obviously is kind of the X factor. Rogue is incredibly susceptible to burn damage, but you have to get that opening right and not let the Rogue get the ball rolling too fast. So can sometimes fall prey. But some decent matchups across the board for Lys, but winning 3 times in a row is a tall task.
Yeah, I've been slowly coming around towards the Rogue versus Mage matchup a little bit more, because again, I've been playing a lot of Rogue over the last few days, and I think having seen some of the better players pilot Rogue a bit more and gotten more used to the matchup myself, I think that your ability to go super wide in the mid game really should not be underrated against Mage, because yes, they have a copy of Flame Strike, but that's not often going to be found. It's often not that potent if you have big Mankrik on board, if you've given Divine Shield to one of your minions. Golems often have Divine Shield as well that make it harder to clear them off. And if they're using Mask of Cthulhu to clear off your board, they often just don't have enough burst to kill you in the deck, especially as they will not find all of their burn before the game is over. It's not to say that it's a bad matchup at all for the Mage. I think if they do find the flows at the start and deal all that burn damage, obviously Rogue can just die. But with a player of Gaby's caliber, I think the Mage is fine. The Warrior, like you said, is not great, but the Paladin is just a dream matchup for the Rogue. I really, really like Rogue's position against Paladin of any kind at the moment.
Yeah, Gaby has quite a good list for both Mage and kind of Paladin, right?
True.
With the Double Cold Neophytes and Penflinger. I think the Broom might be a little bit better versus Paladin, because it lets you go for bigger swings, right? A lot of times it's the early board that matters the most. And Penflinger, oftentimes you just don't have the mana to make it meaningful in the early stages, whereas Broom can turn all of your minions into damage instead of just having to rely on your spells. And the Cold Neophytes, obviously, against Mage, you talked about those big boards in the mid-game. Well, you can protect those big boards even more so by throwing out a Cold Neophyte alongside it, maybe with some Shadow Steps. You're in for a good time. So Gaby, from this stage, has to be an overwhelming favorite at a 2-0 lead in the series. But, you know, anything could happen. Anything could happen. We wouldn't be doing our jobs if we're just like, pack it up, on to the semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's close to that point, though. Gaby has been, obviously, as we saw there, when he gets the good hands, he makes the best of it, like we saw with the Priest. But he's just been really good at finding these weird backup win conditions if you don't find the goods in your starting hand. And so I think he is in a great spot. And here we see Lys going for what is very arguably the worst matchup first. But he has got himself Righteous Protector into Hand of Adal. Once again, one of the, if not the best starting play that you can make as Paladin. And Gaby, by keeping the field contact, is going for a little bit less board control, you could argue, in the early game, because generally I'm looking for the likes of Prize Plunderer, Foxy Fraud, anyway to just gain maximum tempo, but he's instead opting for a higher value option, setting up for the mid game.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, right? Maybe he thinks that if, especially on the coin, if he hits Octobot, like it's just a win if he keeps field contact, right?
True.
And if he's full mulling every other card, sure, like you hit that, the game almost ends. But this is kind of difficult to start off. You know, Foxy Frog Van Cleef gives him the most options moving forward, because next turn he will have Righteous Protector plus Brain Protector plus Brain Freeze,
Right.
As a way to answer back. So I like this. Field Contact might be stranded for a while since he's going to have to play for tempo. But he's going to have a board lead this early on into the game. And it's not just, oh, he has a 1-1 and the Paladin has nothing. No, he's got a 1 with Divine Shield and a 2-3.
This is what I've been talking about. This is the power of Vanessa Van Cleef. Yes, the cards you get can be good, but it's a 0 mana 2-3 when you have Foxy Fraud in hand. That's just absurd. And now here with... I mean, honestly, it could just be Field Contact coming down right now if you want to go super aggressive, or I guess more likely Tenwu plus play the Vanessa again, or just Man Crick off the top if you're an absolute lord and can top deck like that.
Yeah, Man Crick, obviously the best play in this scenario. Field Contact still could be vulnerable to a Crab Rider, but I mean, that was it. Man Crick, vulnerable to nothing. Except losing his wife in the Barons.
It's his one weakness.
It's his Achilles heel.
Not having a wife. And I think here for Gaby, he can just quickly realize that no matter what the secrets are, once the Northwatch Commander has been played, if that is the play that comes down, as I expect it to be, no matter what the secrets are, Gaby's in a great spot because he can bump in with the Man Crick, and then even if it is the Reckoning, it is then a 3-1 that dies. That's not that bad anyway. He can go Field Contact Penflinger to kill it off. That won't even proc any of the other secrets. It's so clean.
It's quiet.
This is quite good.
Quiet.
One thing is that if the Field Contact is dealt with, he's somewhat out of stuff.
That's true.
And it will be dealt with, but I mean, he has such a tempo advantage. If he just picks up any type of value generator off the top, I think he's quite good. Is it? Ooh, 1 turn.
Interesting. This turn's not easy because you really want to you really want to go Tenwu on your Vanessa to get yourself a Interesting, to get yourself a goody 2 shields, but in the end he steps the Penflinger, obviously expecting it to be Oh My Yogged, but he realizes that's the one secret that it is not in this instance, which does give him perfect information.
I wonder if in that instance he would attack first with the Vanessa and then to try to Shadow Step that in case it's not Oh My Yogg, then you get the Penflinger back.
Right.
But maybe that gives him less options to kill the goody 2 shields if it is that.
I like the way he's going about it here. It was, I mean, it was very likely to be Oh My Yogg, with that being the one secret of which there are 2 copies. So I think it was definitely you go into that turn expecting it to be Oh My Yogg anyway. And even if it isn't, this is still fine. A 0 mana Penflinger in hand meant that he was able to clear off the goody 2 shields, and he just has an extra trick to be able to clear off extra damage if necessary.
Oh!
Ooh. I think Gaby is thinking, and I'm not sure why.
It's you got to put it on Headmaster Kel'Thuzad, right? Because the first thing that Lys is going to do is he's going to attack into Mizaki. And then he gets a free trade over Headmaster Kel'Thuzad. Maybe it's not that simple, though, because maybe he wants to take out the Jandis and take out the Kelt. Oh, if you... Actually, it might be Headmaster Kel'Thuzad or making Mizaki the...
Illusion.
Illusion. No, it's Headmaster Kel'Thuzad because I think RNGLys would attack into Jandis to prevent Shadow Step or Tenwu, and then take the value trade over the Headmaster Kel'Thuzad anyway.
And just
with
leave
the
up
6/6.
Mizaki.
and just leave up Mazaki. I mean, he's seen a brain freeze, right? Is the Wicked Stab spell damage really something that's going to matter? I don't know. Oh. Blessing of Authority could be big here from Knight of Anointment.
I mean, you could just start with it, and then if you miss anything good, you could just go another Hammer of the Naru, even if you have to overwrite the final charge. I'd be very happy to do that to get a 6/6 on the board.
Conviction. This is actually really difficult.
Wow, really?
This is just to make sure that the Mazaki can be cleared off and he can take out the Jandis.
He was going for 1 cost. He missed poison. He gets draw a card, though, which you're probably looking at here. Although deal 3 damage would allow you to clear the board.
Lifesteal, deal 3 damage.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it'll allow him to clear the board if...
Oh! Oh! The mind
did pick the Mazaki!
The mind games!
And now Gaby gets to Wicked Stab! And get a 6/6!
Oh! That's so sick! He just realized it! He just realized what he can do!
That's like the best Jandis mind game I've ever seen. It almost never matters.
Oh wait, he's doing it on the Kazakus so he can step it back and
so he can Tenwu it.
Oh! That's so cool!
Looking for a few good mercenaries.
Because the only thing his hand was lacking was value, right?
Oh! Gaby is so sick. He's just so sick.
He can Guardian Og Merchant, the Headmaster Kel'Thuzad, and get a value trade over.
Yeah.
That's an upgrade.
The problem is maybe the 7/3, but... Oh wait, he has... What does he have in his deck there? Cost 4.
Oh wait, does he have... It doesn't... Oh, it doesn't activate.
Mistakes.
Oh, he has his own Kazakus.
No, he forgot. Oh, he forgot. No!
I'm like, wait, there's nothing in the deck that should cost 4. Yeah, Kazakus cost 4.
No way!
So actually, that play ended up not being that cool. He should have taken the 6/6.
That was garbage. I mean, it looked so clever.
Now he's out of stuff. So if Liz just plays board control here, which he can easily, and make another Hammer than Naru. No! That was the best play I've ever seen until it became the worst play I've ever seen.
I am speechless, TJ. I am utterly speechless.
Can he set up for a 2-turn lethal here? I mean, pretty much, right? Gaby's not removing anything. Yeah, he's going to lose. There's Alex in hand next turn. It's almost certainly lethal. Wow. Oh.
Gaby,
okay, so the idea behind it was cool. The idea behind it was cool. But there's a reason why you play Kazakus in your deck, because it's strong. And he's like, oh, I play Kazakus in my deck. This is the crazy next level play. But we all forgot that Kazakus costs 4 and shuts off the other Kazakus. So I liked how Gaby played that up until that point. The mind games on how it would work out, how the buffs would see, just the expression.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
I mean, I don't want to take away from the fact that that mind games there, it wasn't one play, it was 2 specific plays he made, and the mind games to put it on Mazaki was so clever. I've never seen a mind games off of Alusha be that powerful.
Yeah. But imagine if he had Wicked Stabbed the 6/6 instead. That play would have been so much better, because then Tenwu would have been in hand to try and get more value from some of the other cards, potentially. Yep. I think maybe even having a chance to almost full clear the board there would have been all of his resources, but then, that's how Paladin wins. They rely on those resources. Lys's hand had a Hammer of Naru, but, if you're looking at 4 big minions across the board, Hammer Nari goes down in value significantly. So, not the best pan out for Gaby, but at least he's in the mindset of trying to make creative plays.
And I hate to say it, but just to inject some tension back into the series here, that was the good matchup, I would say, for the Rogue left over for Gaby. Now he has the likes of Mage and then Rush Warrior to close things out, which goes from good, medium to bad very, very quickly in terms of the 3 matchups left. Lys is spacing this out beautifully in order to paint the picture of Gaby's impending demise. It's very far from over, of course. Gaby is still probably in the lead, or almost certainly in the lead, being 2-1 up now. But the cracks are starting to show with that unfortunate end to the game there where, you know, he gave us the reaction of, I've been playing like a god all weekend. Let me have one mistake, all right? It was going to happen eventually. But it's getting a bit scary now.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, maybe not in that situation, but that could have been game losing, right? There was a good chance that he could win from that point if he plays that turn a little bit differently and remembered that the Kazakhs was blocking his ability to get a Golem. But still, Rogue, good deck. This is tough, though. Just because Cold Neophyte is great in the Mage matchup. Efficient Octobot, maybe not as much, just because, you know, unless you have a way to activate Efficient Octobot in your hand, Mage is one of the best classes at actually dealing with Octobots early on. They have Combustion, which deals with it without giving the Frenzy effect. They have Devolving Missiles to pretty much just trade 1-for-1. And then there's the option of Jandis. If you keep Jandis in the opening hand, on the coin it gets a little better because you can play it on 5.
Right.
But then you're sacrificing some of your potential early game in order to just try and have that power play on 5. It's an interesting mulligan, actually. Pretty difficult.
It is. I think it's very, very tempting to full keep this, but I will say that specifically against Mage, Octobot is not quite as powerful as it is in the other matchups. As you said, there's obviously the fact that you they have many ways to deal with the Octobot, but they also don't give you many opportunities to activate your own Octobot by just attacking in on the other side. And so while Gaby does, I think, correctly go for the double Octobot here, because any chance that you can get to go coin Jandis on 4 is something to consider. But it's still a tough mulligan, I think, there.
Yeah.
Job done.
Mini Mage, I think, just the best option, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You really want early game. Mini Mage offers you so much flexibility. You get to hold on to the spell damage for as long as you want, because Rogue just doesn't have a way to deal with it outside of Kazakhs Golems. And then it can also be used as a way to trade over once it's attained its value to kill a premier target. Gaby happy not to see Incanter's Flow. Sure of it. And
Efficient is sufficient.
Efficient Octobot. Again, vulnerable to Devolving Missiles, but pretty much everything else is fine.
There it is. I still think this is very much the correct play from Gaby. You're not getting very much value at all out of Cold Neophyte going into turn 3. The only thing you're denying realistically is Arcane Intellect, because everything else is just 2-mana spells that they're going to play anyway, with the likes of Cram Session or a Incanter's Flow off the top. And it means that even if this Octobot is dealt with, he can then just go Octobot and then Prize Plunderer to kill his own Octobot, and then Jandis on turn 4. It's a very, very smooth curve, and one that I think is the best way to pile on pressure at the start.
Efficient is sufficient.
Give me that.
Yeah, honestly, if you look at the way that Gaby's deck is constructed with, you know, the Guardian Og Merchant, Penflinger version of the deck, he's actually got multiple ways in his own deck to activate his Octobot. So makes the keep make even more sense. But there's Incanter's Flow for Lys. It's not on 2, but 4 he'll take it, especially with Refreshing Spring Water in hand. Both players now having these kind of crazy ideal openings with an activated Octobot on the Rogue side and a Incanter's Flow on the Mage side. This is going to be fireworks.
And especially with that pickup, Gaby here hoping for good 5 drops. And even if he misses here, which he didn't, he is hoping for Jandice to stick, because Tenwu being picked up now, you will gladly throw that combo piece down in the mid-game in order to try and replay your Jandices and pile on the pressure before Flame Strike comes online.
Another interesting turn, because Liz has an Incanter's Flow reduced deck and Refreshing Spring Water. Cool. Also has Firebrand plus Ruined Orb. That could maybe even be a clear or close to it, right? Could remove a large portion of this board. Could maybe go for Devolving Missiles, but I think there's too much stuff on board. In order for Devolving Missiles to be good, maybe you do this first.
Do you not just start with Spring Water, though? I'm not really sure why he's holding on to that.
It maybe works out a little bit inefficiently. He wants to go for a bigger turn, right? But I would say, is there any downside to it? And yes, because Gaby plays double Cult Neophyte.
Yeah. Not the biggest fan of that, to be honest. I think you may as well just throw it down. Like, yes, you can get second Encounters Flow off the top next turn, but outside of specifically exactly that, I'd like to just see what options you have available in the deck. But we're seeing Secret Passage coming off the top quite rightly here as well for Gaby. The rest of this hand was not quite getting the job done, especially as whenever possible, you want to play your Cult Neophyte going into turn 7. But here it looks like a pretty clean hand with Vanessa Van Cleef and both the 1-drops. You can clear everything but the Mini-Mage, and you can get yourself a Ruined Orb. Oh no, sorry, Devolving Missiles, which is still pretty good. Maybe you even play that.
Yeah, you can get rid of the Mini-Mage if he wants to. That's if it hits. Okay, yeah, that is a clear.
Give me that.
Has board, some decent cards in his actual hand. Not the best, but has the Alexstrasza Tenwu combination. Only one discounted though, but could set up for like a 2-turn with that. And Foxy Fraud can unlock a lot of cards that are drawn off the top. He's looking for some of those big value generators currently, like Kazakis, Field Contact, pretty much anything that could get this hand to be a little bit bigger.
Well, I'm definitely looking at just keeping the card draw rolling. I think that the Ethereal Conjurer, it's just the kind of minion that Rogue really happily preys upon. A single Wicked Stab will deal with it, or basically just a Brain Freeze can answer it very, very cleanly.
Wow, playing incredibly conservatively.
Care to make a wager, friend?
Okay, Swindle.
Great top deck. Okay, we're back online. Secret Passage, probably for next turn.
Yep.
Let's see what you've got.
Muzzle their magic.
Go wide on the board, protect your board as much as possible by making the spells cost 2 more. So all the spells will be +1 of their original cost from Lys's deck, which I still think is enough.
Yeah,
and yeah, I agree with this.
It plays around Flame Strike, it plays around Mask of Cthulhu, even if it comes off the top of the deck. It is more than worth it to dismantle the Alexstrasza Tenwu combo, because unless you got a Shadow Step to go on either the Alex or the Tenwu, it wasn't really even a combo yet anyway, because it was 1 mana too expensive, even when he got all the way to turn 10. And so it does mean that it looks like Lys is going to be tanking a lot of damage here, unless he can get Brain Freeze, Devolving Missiles. There really isn't that much he can discover when everything costs 2 more.
None of these are even playable. Refreshing Spring Water has the highest upside for next turn, and the one thing that Lys has going for him is that the Imprisoned Observer actually will sweep up most of the board next turn, which actually does make Gaby's turn a little awkward, because there's not that much stuff in his deck that has more than 2 health. He's already used Jandice. He has man crick. He could try and go off with field contact, or just try and assemble resources and go for a burnout because he's got 8, 9, 10, 13 damage on board. Now 11 damage on board. So he's getting pretty close to just Alexstrasza and Wicked Stab to be enough.
Wicked Stab is essentially just game if he can find it here. You point it face, Alex next turn. That's it. This is basically game, as Gaby is proclaiming to whoever will listen to him. Yes, Gaby, you have drawn the card that wins you the game. Well done. I think he might need to fit in the dagger as well in order to get it to exactly 8 health, which he does. Now, even if Ice Barrier is found, it's still lethal. I don't think there's anything that Lys can do. I don't think there's anything in the deck. I don't think he can generate anything even to pull him back here. It's just over.
Can he kill him from 30?
When all of his cards cost 1 more? Doubtful.
Doubtful. I mean, he can hope that Alexstrasza is not in the deck, or not in the hand. But he knows that there's been one card that's discounted by the Octobot that's been held onto for this long, which...
Yep.
Not the most promising scenario if you're Lys right now.
There are no 5-cost lifesteal rush cards. You don't have Sandhoof Waterbearer in Standard anymore.
I don't think there's anything that heals.
Yeah. I think this is just it. And I love that we got to see it in this game. I was talking about it just beforehand, where this is the kind of rogue play that you need to win the matchup. You go wide in the mid game, as he correctly did, of course, but it's the timing of your cult neophytes. That is the X factor that can truly push you over the top in these matchups, as Gaby has done here. And it looks like, unless a miracle comes off of the Apexis Blast here that I can't think of, he's going to the semis.
There you have it.
And the cycle of life is
Not quite as big of a pop-off as he had when he actually made it into the top 8, but still a Gaby pop-off nonetheless. And you know what, Derek? That sets up for an all-European top 4. Whew.
It's just been dominant so far. 3 Chinese representatives plus Monsanto representing the US of A, TJ, and yet still it was not enough to overcome the dominance of the European regions yet again.
Yeah, that's my favorite joke because he's Canadian, but, you know, honorary member of the old US of A. As is Gaby today, you know. French flag also is red, white, and blue, just in a different order.
You don't get to take credit for this. This is his moment, TJ. America's failed again, okay? Get over it.
Yeah, I got to get over it, but Europe, I guess, taking back their rightful place at the top of competitive Hearthstone. It's been China dominating for at least quite some time, especially considering that, you know,